fuzzy, but I want to tell it. So back in 5th grade, you could say I was a little more interested in guns than the average 5th grader. Some of my friends knew about my interest. This will be important later. The story starts at the end of the day. Me and my classmates were packing up to go home, and one of them, who sat next to me and was a close friend of mine, was joking around and grabbing stuff from my desk. This continued for a few minutes until my friend decided to knock over my desk, spilling all of its contents onto the floor. I am laughing and start picking up. This is the critical moment where things go south. I finished picking up all the books and folders that fell out of my desk, and stand up and say to my friend in whisper, "I'm gonna kill you." Since I had just been picking up, I didn't realize that my teacher was standing no more than 3 feet from me and my friend. As soon as I finish the sentence, my teacher abruptly turns around and yells to me, "What did you say?" At this point, the whole class is staring at me, and so I said in a shaky voice, "Nothing." I was one of the kids that always behaved and never got in trouble, so preserving my reputation was important to me. The teacher at first seems to let off, and we all went home. It was a few days and nothing else was being said about the incident, so I assumed I was off the hook. Boy, was I wrong. In the middle of class, the principal comes in and asks for me to come with her. I of course follow, and she asks me about what I said, and I started to panic inside. We get to the office and she has me go into her office and sit down. She asks me why I said that, and stupid me being too panicked to react, say it was just a joke. I never calmed down enough to explain why I made the joke. I am crying at this point and am still trying to explain why I said what I did. This is where they go too far. The counselors come in and start explaining how they interviewed all of my friends to see if I was a violent person. They said my friends heard me talking about pistols at lunch and how bullets work. I later learned that they all actually said I was a very calm and gentle person, but in the moment I got even more upset and thought all my friends had turned on me. By this point I was beyond being able to defend myself, in tears. Now the next thing they did still makes me emotional till this day. One of the counselors asks me if I had any guns at home, and before I can even answer, she asks, "Would you ever consider bringing it to school?" I said no, but at the time I didn't know that the question really was, would you ever come to school and kill people with a gun? It was later that night when I realized what the question actually meant, and I could not handle it. I cried a lot and was very flustered the next few days at school. I was worried my friends were scared of me. At the time I didn't know I was being emotionally abused by the principal. My mom and dad saw my stance on the matter, but I still couldn't explain exactly why I said what I did. A few months after things had cooled down, and we were reading a book in class, and for some reason the teacher brought up school violence. My heart stopped for a second. When we were leaving school, a girl in my class came up to me and asked, "Were you the one who said you would kill people?" The matter was never brought up again, but that last exchange really hurt me a lot. My sister still goes to that school, and every time I am in the car with my dad, I see the principal. It was 1998. I was 8 years old when one day my mom had arrived home from the grocery store. As I get outside, I can hear my mom screaming. I rush toward her when I see her with an arm full of groceries, kicking at what looks like a small chihuahua. The dog was vicious. Chihuahuas are small but can be quite vicious. I run over and scare the dog away as she runs back inside. The dog had bit and gnawed her ankle up. My mom was bleeding. As my dad was tending to my mother's ankle, he said, "I'm going to kill that damn dog." Turns out this was our next door neighbor's dog. We and other neighbors in the community have had problems with this little monster. The dog's name was Daisy. After helping my mom, my dad walked over to our neighbor to tell them what happened. The neighbor basically spat back that her dog has been home the entire day and it simply wasn't possible. Daisy couldn't have done this, she said. Impossible. She lied. But there wasn't anything they would or could do. It was messed up. I was always a mischievous child. I was constantly getting into trouble while growing up. I was a child who had a kind heart but loved trouble. I had constant ideas, and when I had a light bulb moment I would obsess over the idea until it was completed. Before I get too far into the story, I need to explain what my parents did for a living. It's important. Mainly my mom. My mom was a party wedding planner. Our basement was always filled with helium tanks and all kinds of equipment. Basically a party city in my basement. It was always a cool place. Even though I wasn't ever allowed down there. It was a Saturday and my mom and dad were gone for the weekend. This was incredibly rare. I couldn't wait to take advantage of the opportunity with unlimited playing time for 007 GoldenEye on Nintendo 64. It was going to be the best weekend ever. But things were about to quickly change. Into my backyard. I kept feeding her treats, which helped keep her quiet and busy. I wasted no time. I took about 2 feet of nylon kite string and tied it to the knot of balloons. The other end was tied to the Chihuahua's body harness. When I moved the rock off of the balloon knot, wow! The balloons shot Daisy up into the air with ease. It was unbelievable. I obviously used way too many balloons. I watched until Daisy was very small and the barking was barely heard. Then I couldn't hear Daisy at all. The barking was gone. Daisy was gone. The gravity of what I had just done started to set in. I felt really bad. I had become a monster just like Daisy, I remembered thinking. I cried so much. I didn't want Daisy to die. I never really thought that far ahead. I never thought of the repercussions. It was an impulsive act as a child that I could never reverse. Fast forward to Sunday night and my father gets home. He immediately notices that something is wrong with me. Me and my dad are very close and I could talk to him about anything. I finally tell him what happened. He laughs and thinks I'm joking at first. I tell him I'm serious over and over. He becomes slightly annoyed and tells me to be quiet. Then that very night there is a knock at the door. I can hear my dad answer the door from my bedroom. It's the neighbor. Oh no, does she know it was me? I was panicked, but I kept listening. She was crying. She basically asked my dad if he had seen Daisy because she's been missing since Saturday night. I hear him pause for a moment. Then he says, "No, I haven't seen Daisy." He explains he just arrived home from business only an hour ago. She then asks if maybe I had seen him. My dad calls me over to the front door. I'm so scared I can feel my face getting hot. My dad is standing holding the door open with a look of sheer horror on his face. She asks again if I'd seen Daisy. I quickly tell her no. I tell her I've been inside all weekend. She cries as she leaves and thanks us for our time. When my dad closes the door, he